Okay, hello fellow seekers. An update on Tracy Ferriter if you have not yet heard it. She did go back to court today for a plea hearing, and it looks like she will not be going to court on July 12th and will be avoiding prison because she pled guilty today. But there will be like 10 years, I think it's 1 year house arrest, 10 years probation, something like that. But this is about, I don't know, about 15 minutes long. It kind of, some of the news reports I found were short, but I really want to know what that entails, because I've heard oftentimes that sometimes that can be harder than going to jail or prison. And I'll tell you at the end, at first I really felt like she should go, but at the end, well, I think I have decided that I am good with this, and I'll explain why. But let's listen to what the judge says to her. What is all this going to involve? I'm sure there's got to be, it's not easy to do that. Okay, here we go.
Plea agreement in this matter. Let me hear factual basis.
Can work on the sound. I'm sorry, guys.
Are between December 28, 2021 and January 28, 2022. The victim in this case, RF, was the adopted son of the defendant, Tracy Ferriter. At that time, they were living in Jupiter, Florida, in which the victim was staying in an enclosed structure, an 8x8 in the garage. In that garage, the victim would spend a majority of his time with limited access to being outside of that room besides school and sometimes dinners. While in that enclosed structure, the victim had to use the bathroom in a Home Depot bucket. He was not allowed to have access to the air conditioner that was controlled by Mrs. Ferriter. Also, he would not be able to get out of the room. The lock was on the outside. At that time, they also had access to the defendant had access to the light in which he would stay in the room for hours on end. There was a ring camera that the co-defendant in the case had installed, which depicted all of the days between December 28th and January 28th. The defendant could be identified, and these events occurred in Palm Beach County, Florida.
All right, both sides stipulate to a factual basis for purposes of the plea this morning.
State stipulates.
Defense so stipulates.
All right, is there any exculpatory evidence or DNA that the court needs to be made aware of as part of this plea?
No, Your Honor.
All right, and do we have victim input through the attorney ad litem or the guardian ad litem?
Yes, Your Honor. I spoke to her. She is in agreement. She knows what the terms will be. And just so Your Honor knows, I did speak to the foster family of the two older daughters, and she also is in agreement and just wants the family to move on.
All right, so from the standpoint of the court's review and consideration of this, it's fair to assume then I have agreement from all constituent parties with respect to this agreement, including the state, the defense, the attorney ad litem for the victim, and the foster parents or guardians for the other two children.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. Ms. Ferriter, go ahead and raise your right hand for me, please. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, you can put your hand down, ma'am. You can go ahead and put your hand down, and do speak up if you could for me. Go ahead and state your name and date of birth, please.
Tracy Ferriter, 10/19/75.
And do you read, write, and understand English?
Yes.
What is your highest level of education?
College degree.
All right, are you under the influence of any drugs, alcohol, or other medications this morning?
No, sir.
Have you ever been treated for any mental or emotional condition?
No, sir.
And you understand that what's happening this morning is as far as the court considering and reviewing your plea and determining whether to approve it, correct?
Yes.
And you are represented by your attorneys this morning, is that correct? And are you satisfied with their services regarding the disposition of this matter through this plea agreement that you've signed and presented to the court?
Yes, sir.
Has anybody, including your attorneys, made any promises, threats, or tried to force you into entering into this plea against your will?
No, sir.
Are you doing everything this morning freely and voluntarily?
Yes.
All right, Ms. Ferriter, the first document I'm going to show you is a document titled Plea in the Circuit Court. Second page of that, where I'm holding up, is that your signature, ma'am?
Yes, sir.
All right, did you have an opportunity to read, review, and go over this document with your attorney prior to signing? And did they explain all the terms and conditions and answer all your questions regarding the terms of this plea?
Yes, sir.
And do you in fact understand the terms of the plea that you've signed and presented to the court?
Yes.
All right, so let me go over it again, and I do need to add, there is no signature for the judge here. I'm going to add a line there because this is a little bit different than my normal form. I'm going to go over the agreement with you at this point, ma'am, to make sure that you're clear on the terms. You will be pleading guilty in case number 22 CF 001136 A and B to the following charges: a first-degree felony in count 1 for aggravated child abuse, a third-degree felony in count 2 for false imprisonment, and a third-degree felony in count 3 for neglect of a child. PSI is waived or not required. You will be adjudicated as to all 3 counts, which means you will have convictions on your record for each of the 3 felonies I've just explained to you. The sentence will be as follows. You will be sentenced to a period of 10 years of probation as follows. 10 years of probation is to count 1, 5 years of probation is to count 2, and 5 years of probation is to count 3, all to run concurrent. In addition, all conditions of probation must be successfully completed no less than 30 days before your probation is scheduled to terminate, and the terms and conditions of the probation are as follows. You'll be subject to standard fine and cost. You'll also be subject to cost of prosecution of $200. You will be subject to random drug testing at your expense, and you will be required to complete 300 hours of community service at a rate of not less than 10 hours per month.
To do also a mental health evaluation, number C.
Yeah, I didn't see that as checked, but so as part of this,
Sorry.
Yes,
So-
I checked the wrong thing. It's not the random drug testing, it's the mental health.
okay, so let me have you make that change and have Ms. Ferriter initial it. That's why I didn't mention mental health before, because it wasn't checked. And I think on the signature page, I should have a date by each of those signatures, so it's clear that all of them have been executed today. So if you could just do that.
That's fine, just
Madam President,
You may, did you date the signature page?
no, sir.
Let's put a date by each of the signatures so I can just make sure that it's all dated.
Yeah, I think it was a day, right? One day. Can you just do it right there?
Madam President,
You're gonna broach. All right, so Ms. Ferriter, let me just backtrack just for a moment. The random drug testing at your expense, that is not a condition of the probation. That has been stricken. What is a condition that I didn't allude to earlier is that you will be required to undergo a mental health evaluation and successful completion of any recommended treatment, and you must enroll within 30 days of house arrest into that program. You understand all that? Again, the 300 hours of community service at a rate of not less than 10 hours per month still applies. And the sentence, the custodial part is for 2 days with credit for time served of 2 days. And you understand that by entering into the plea, you waive any right to claim anything more than the 2 days credit for time served. Do you understand all that? All right, there are other comments and conditions that I need to go over with you on this plea, so let me proceed with that. You're also going to be required to submit a DNA sample by oral swab as a part of this plea. You understand that?
Yes, sir.
All right, and then Under the other comments and conditions, they provide as follows. You may transfer probation to Cook County, Illinois. If you transfer probation and you're accepted in Cook County, you must start in-house arrest within 14 days of being accepted to Cook County. The in-house arrest shall be for a period of 1 year as a condition of probation. If you are not accepted to Cook County to serve your sentence within 60 days of this plea agreement, you shall be required to be on the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office in-house arrest program for a period of 1 year. So in that event, that means you'd have to come back to Florida in Palm Beach County to serve out the 1 year of in-house arrest, because I know there's no way that they could do in-house arrest in Illinois. So any violations of either Cook County, Illinois in-house arrest or PBSO in-house arrest shall be considered a violation of probation. As a condition of probation, you shall complete an in-person 12-hour anger management class. You also shall complete an in-person triple P parenting course or a similar type of parenting course in Cook County, Illinois. If permitted by probation, you must enroll in the anger management and parenting course within the first 90 days of starting in-house arrest. You are not allowed to have any contact with RF, and you agree to waive extradition to Florida in the event there's a violation of probation. And you shall not be employed where the primary purpose is to interact with children. And you are allowed to have contact with the co-defendant, Timothy Ferriter. Do you understand all those terms and conditions I've just outlined for you?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have any questions of the court about anything I've just discussed or explained to you?
No, sir.
All right, give me just a moment here.
Judge, probation might have an issue when it comes to the 12-hour anger management and triple P while she's on house arrest, because we don't monitor them while they're considered in a jail status.
Say that again?
While she's in the in-house arrest status, we consider them in jail, so we don't
He has a chance to come when they
So we
need
would
to
need 12-hour anger management or parenting class while she's in
And also, so she's got a strong.
Any responses on that?
Your Honor, I would wait and see if she does get transferred to Cook County first, and if she does not, then we could always bring it in. But I don't have any objection if that's the case, if they want her to serve her in-house arrest first, and then she can go ahead and do the anger management and parenting course after that.
And Your Honor, we have that in the plea, permitted by probation, she must enroll. So if probation doesn't permit her, then she'll have to wait until they do permit her.
Yeah, all right, I think it's covered by the plea too. Okay, all right, good enough. All right, Ms. Ferriter, the next document I'm showing you, the document titled Waiver of Rights Sheet. On the left-hand side of the page that I'm holding up, are those your initials?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, same document, second page. In the middle, is that your signature with your initials on the left-hand side above it?
Yes,
Did you have an opportunity to read, review, and go over this waiver sheet with your attorney prior to signing it? And did your attorney explain all the terms and conditions and answer all your questions regarding the terms of the waiver? And do you in fact understand the rights that you've waived by virtue of having signed that document? All right, so in addition to certain constitutional and other rights that you would have discussed with your attorney, I do need you to know and understand two things this morning with respect to the waiver. One, you are expressly waiving the right to a trial by jury. And two, you are expressly waiving the right to confront any witnesses that may have testified adverse to you had this matter gone to trial. You understand all that? All right. Last document I'm going to show you is a criminal punishment code score sheet. Did you have an opportunity to go over this document with your attorneys?
yes, I did.
All right, so you're aware then that you scored 128.00 sentence points, which computed out to a sentence that I've been sentencing in accordance with the guidelines, as opposed to this plea of 75 months in the Department of Corrections. So this is a favorable resolution, but it does have a very lengthy period of probation. So there is risk to you that if you violate probation, you could be looking at substantial custodial time in the Department of Corrections in Florida. You understand all that? All right, Ms. Ferriter, are you pleading guilty to the charges in the plea agreement because you recognize at least the possibility that had this matter gone to trial, it is possible that a jury could have found you guilty? All right. As I indicated, you are going to be adjudicated, which means as a result of this plea, you will become a convicted felon. And in Florida, that means you will lose your civil rights. That includes the right to vote and also the right to possess firearms, weapons, or ammunition. In addition, this may subject you to greater or enhanced penalties if you commit a crime in the future. And if you're not legally United States citizen, this could alter your immigration status, leading to your removal from the country. Do you need any additional time to discuss any immigration issues with your attorney? All right, this plea does not right now involve a Department of Corrections sentence, but it could come into play if you violate the probation. So I am also going to advise you, as part of this plea this morning, if you are ultimately sentenced to time in prison as a result of a violation of probation, that could subject you also to greater or enhanced penalties as a prison releasee reoffender if you commit a crime within 3 years of your release from custody. So that's additional incentive, obviously, while you're on probation, to make sure that you strictly comply with all the terms and conditions. You understand all that, ma'am? All right, have you had enough time to discuss everything with your attorneys this morning that concerns you regarding the resolution of this matter?
Yes.
And have they answered all questions to your satisfaction? All right, Ms. Ferriter, do you have any questions of me about anything that I've discussed or explained to you this morning regarding the terms of this plea?
No, sir.
All right. Do you still wish to go forward with this plea agreement?
Yes.
All right, at this time, counsel, do you wish to enter a change of plea?
On behalf of Ms. Ferriter, she withdraws her previously entered plea of not guilty and enters plea of guilty.
Okay. All right, based on defense counsel's change of plea on the record and also your testimony, Ms. Ferriter, I find that you're entering into this plea knowingly and intelligently after having had the opportunity to receive the advice and counsel of your attorney. I also find that I've explained to you and that you understand and appreciate the nature and consequences of entering into this plea this morning. You're doing so freely and voluntarily and upon a sufficient factual basis. Therefore, I accept your plea of guilty to the charges in the plea agreement. After review and consideration of the plea agreement and also representations to the court that all constituent parties to this circumstance have agreed and consented to this resolution, including the victim RF, in this case his attorney ad litem, and also the other two children through their foster parents and guardians having consented to this. So that is enough based on the court's understanding of the facts and circumstances of this to approve of this plea agreement. And with that approval, I hereby sentence you and adjudicate you in accordance with the terms of the plea agreement. Madam Clerk, court calls, please.
$2,000 even.
$2,000 even. What's your pleasure on that?
Can that be a condition of probation, Your Honor?
Condition of probation, but I'll have it to be paid within 5 years because the probation runs 10. I'd rather it to be paid in a shorter period of time. Okay. All right. Anything else I need to address with the court or with the attorneys? All right. All right. So the when was it set for a special set? July 12th. So the July 12th special set is hereby stricken. There's no need to remand at this point. So all I can say at this point, Ms. Ferriter, I wish you the best. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
Okay, Mr. Soden, good morning. Which case?
Tracy did this so she could put some peace with her family. She didn't want to put her children through a trial. That was her main impetus for taking this plea. She wanted it to be resolved. And it was a completely different case than what was presented through her husband's case. So even though she had a very good chance of being exonerated, she really wanted to just put this to rest so her children can have some peace.
What's the one thing you want the public to know?
That Tracy's not a monster, that this is a human being who's extremely educated, loving, adopted children out of the goodness of her heart. And the media really got it wrong because unfortunately we don't know about children with RAD, reactive attachment disorder, and pretty much hopefully this brings some light to it, and maybe Tracy in the future will talk more about this and help other families who went through or are going through what she and her family went through. It's horrible.
How would have her trial been different from her husband's?
Heidi?
In a number of ways. Probably first and foremost is that Tracy was going to take the stand. Unlike Tim, there was never a question Tracy was going to testify and tell her side of the story, which would have shed enormous light, and the jury would have had an opportunity to hear the horror that she had to live with on a daily basis. We also had experts that were not in Tim's case. There was a nationally renowned expert, RAD expert, that I think would have provided a wealth of information to the jury to better understand that situation and what she was going through on a daily basis. there also would have been a child that had not testified in the first trial that was going to be called by the defense in the second trial, in her trial, that would have cooperated the daily fear and violence that this family was put through and had to deal with.
Would you like to ask Tracy?
Yes, Tracy, do you regret how you treated your son?
We were living a life that it's not what it's portrayed in the media. There was a lot of things that nobody knew. We were a completely loving family. I love my kids. We just tried to do the best that we could with what we had.
And how are you feeling right now?
It's tough because I'm doing this because I want my kids to be able to not be a part of this trial, have their names all over the media, and that they can move on. But I know the way our family really was. I know the truth of what we were just trying to do. We loved all of our children, and we just were trying to deal with something that there's no cure for. You just try daily, and you try to do whatever you can as a parent, and that's what we were trying to do. And it's just a hard road, and there's not help for this condition. There's not help, that can help parents just to work through it and to deal with some of these behaviors you're dealing with constantly every day. So
Tracy is one of the most altruistic, loving people that I've ever had the pleasure to meet. Everything that's been portrayed is wholly inconsistent with the way she is.
And we spoke to at least 100 people who knew this family, and everyone said these were the most loving, religious-based family out there, and they loved their kids and treated everybody phenomenally. But nobody really knows what's going on behind closed doors, and when you have a child who unfortunately doesn't have a moral compass and can't attach to anybody because of the abuse, unfortunately, that he suffered in an orphanage, sometimes you wind up with things like this that are very sad stories, and they become very non-productive citizens, unfortunately, and sometimes do terrible things. Tracy was trying to protect her family. She was trying to protect her children. She was trying to protect herself. All this would have came out, but Tracy, as being altruistic, didn't want to put her children through any more publicity and wanted just everyone to move on. Tracy did this so she could put some...
Oops, sorry about that. Just gonna pause that for a moment. Well, my thoughts are, I don't know why it irritates me, because let me just say up front, I am a believer. I believe in God and Jesus, but I get really pissed off, like when he said, they're well known or whatever, many people, blah blah blah, and they're a religious family. You know what makes me mad? Because for me, God and Jesus are separate from religion. We're not going to get in a religious thing, but I just don't like when people throw, like, because they were religious, that they were good people. I'm not saying, maybe they're not horrible people, but I mean, I don't know. I think what they did was horrible. But that just always irritates me, because I can remember, well, those of you who are following, or who have followed the Shonda Vander Ark trial, I can remember looking in, like when they were showing body cameras of the police going through the house. I saw a Bible verse hanging in her kitchen. I'm thinking, okay, so that makes everything okay. I'm not saying, I think y'all get what I'm saying. I said, don't bring that in there, though. What is that supposed to do? You still got to act right. And so he says it would be very different because she would be on trial, or she would testify. And what she was saying is that no one really knew or understood went on there on a day-to-day basis. Maybe we didn't, but there were thousands upon thousands of ring videotapes that showed what was going on with Timothy. Here I go, Timothy. I'm getting mixed up with poor Timothy Ferguson, RR, or whatever his name was. Their son, Tracy Ferriter's son. And I think the reason why I am okay with this is it sounds like the other children his two sisters, the victims and the victim, were good with her having the probation, and maybe there was some truth to her not wanting to put her kids through the trial, but I think more of it was about to save herself. That's just my opinion, and I don't know her, and I could be wrong, and if I am, I'm sorry, but I'm just saying I think it's more about she probably knew that they would come back with a guilty verdict. I think she knew the chances would be extremely great that she would go. And I mean, and, Timothy is in some sort of facility. I understood that they said, and I pray that that he's getting the treatment he deserves, and that they are kind to him, and he has a foster parent or somebody who will, be like a parental figure to him that is encouraging, loving, supporting. I mean, it always feels sad to put somebody into a facility like that, but if that's what they need and if that's what will help them, I mean, they could have done that instead of locking him in a room, taking it on their own hands. And my understanding is there is some restraints or restrictions, but it just, and I guess my question would, it'd be interesting to hear the attorney say that there was a child that lived there on a day-to-day basis, or who was going to testify what that was like. But I'm not sure who that would have been, because I know that the two sisters, well, the older one testified, and then the impact statements, both the older and the younger sister were definitely not happy. Unless maybe Tracy wasn't as rotten as Tim. I don't know. I can't figure that part out. But I guess my main reason for it is that I think that this probation thing, that's they say probation's a little bit tough. I mean, it's not total freedom. I mean, it's not like it's all happy ending just because she's got out of going to jail or prison, because she still had to complete these programs. She will always be known as a felon, and she's lost rights because of that. Can't work near children. So, there's a lot of stuff that goes in with that maybe isn't, well, that's a pretty view. We'll just leave it there. But, it's just, so it's just kind of like, yeah, I wanted to see her go through trial and all that. But at the end of the day, I do think to have to put the victim and his sisters through another trial where they have to testify, they don't deserve that. So it's really, my thing is more about, I'm glad for their sake instead of hers. I just don't know. I just still think they're sneaky and shady based on all those things that were in the documents with Tim, and the fake job offer, and them, talking about moving assets here and there. But, luckily they have a lot of friends, so they'll have a lot of support. Good for them. I just pray that those children will be okay and they get the love and help that they deserve. And I guess the youngest one, I still wasn't, if y'all understood, let me know. I don't know if she's still allowed to be around the little guy that her mom adopted. I know, from what I understood, I know that she's able to have contact with Timothy, but I'm not sure about any of the others. But anyway, it's done. We don't have to worry about going through all of this again, and it's done. And sometimes things don't work out the way we want to, but I always believe in things work out the way they're supposed to, even though it doesn't look like it at the time. So thus ends the Ferriter. Perhaps Tracy will write a book one day. I guess she will be able to do that. And we'll get to see, maybe we will learn how awful it was for them. I think not, though. I still think there's other ways to treat your child, and it was very traumatic for those kids. So that is that for the Ferriters unless we hear something new. So, thank you all for watching. Let me know what you all think about the outcome. Like I said, I don't know. I don't think she would have fared well if she testified honestly. That's just me, though. But for the children's sake, it's a good thing that it's done for them. So, thank you all for watching. If you watch this case, I appreciate you as always and love you. Thank you for subscribing, commenting, and watching. And I love you. And as always, be kind to others. Be kind to you. And I'll see you the next time.